Hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Thoughts. I'm your host, Dominick, and how's everybody doing? I'm sitting here, it's raining, it's thundering in New York, and I'm kind of bored. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast. I'm home. As I said in the last episode, which if you haven't checked out, I talked about Batman 89 and Batman Returns, the two Michael Keaton, Tim Burton Batman movies, right? To get us ready for The Flash, which I'm going to be seeing tomorrow. Very excited about that. But I said yesterday, I would like The Flash movie to be episode 60. So why not today? Why not do an episode 59? And it's going to be a little obscure, this movie, all right? It's probably going to be the most obscure movie I've done on this podcast. I think, as far as older movies, it is an older movie, as you see from the title. But what triggered me, too, was the passing of one of the actors that stars in this movie, and that's Treat Williams, who is a familiar face. If you don't know the name, you'll know the face. He's been in so much stuff, seemingly forever. The 71-year-old actor. He was in a motorcycle accident, tragically, and a fun actor, right? He's been a little bit of everything. He does serious. He's popped up in just a slew of TV shows and stuff like that. And stuff that you may know him from. Deep Rising is a popular movie that people know him from. Prince of the City is a movie that's a good movie. Go check that out. It's a cop movie from the, I believe, 80s, late 70s. I can't really remember the year. And he's been in a slew of things. Like I said, he's been in Deep End of the Ocean with Michelle Pfeiffer. Just things that are coming to the top of my head. And some smaller roles here and there, but good actor. Remember those Substitute movies where the fucking badass was he undercover cop, and he starred in a couple of those, the shittier sequels and stuff like that. But like I said, he did a little bit of everything. And the movie I'm going to be talking about today is a wacky one. It's a movie that I don't even remember when I seen it. It had to be about 12 years ago or something. This is something. It's got to be in the double digits at this point. I don't even remember how I stumbled across. Actually, yes. Okay, so back about years and years ago, me and my brother we worked in a business together. Okay, and I'm not going to get into the details of all the fun stuff that transpired there. For those close to me, but on Sundays we would. Because it was kind of a slower day, and we were off the next day, and, we were closed. So halfway through the day, when we had nothing to do, and we were kind of getting ready to close shop, we would do, Sunday afternoon movies. We would, in honor of those movies that you catch, you used to catch on, Channel 11 or, whatever station, TNT or something. There used to be Sunday movie marathons and stuff like that. And so if we had time, we would do that. And I would make a list of the Sunday movies. And we watched a lot of, action movies and just movies that I think, because at this time I was getting the Netflix envelopes. So I would get fucking whatever wacky movie. Sometimes we would spin off. So if we watched, let's say, Roadhouse, which I think we did watch Roadhouse, and go back to one of the episodes when I play an episode where me and my brother talk about Roadhouse, because that's funny as well. But when we did watch a movie like that, we would go back the following week and we would try to spin it off sometimes. So if we watched, Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, maybe the following week we'd watch Dirty Dancing, or we'd watch Point Break. We definitely watch Point Break. And then maybe we'd spin it off to another Swayze movie, or then maybe after that we'd spin it off to a Swayze, a Keanu movie, right? Make any sense? So that's what we do for a while, and I would just find obscure movies that maybe the trailers seemed intriguing. This was a time, as I said, I was using the Netflix envelopes heavily, so I would get the discs, and I would just would be like, oh, this one sounds good, this one sounds ridiculous, and that's when I stumbled across this movie from 1988, Dead Heat. Okay, now if this is the first time you've ever heard of this movie, if you want to pause it and look up this movie or whatever, or if I'm going to talk just about this movie in general. I'm not really going to be fucking, spoiler heavy. Although this movie is so ridiculous that spoilers, without spoilers, it's not really going to make a difference. It's not going to really take your enjoyment away from this fucking bizarre film. But the film stars Treat Williams, the late, great Treat Williams, who we just lost. And it stars comedian and actor and fucking bodybuilder at this time, Joe Piscopo. Okay, which Joe Piscopo, let me tell you something about Joe Piscopo. Joe Piscopo is a guy that just underrated, I think. Underrated. Some of the movies, he's been like underrated nowadays. I don't think back in the day, because he was on SNL, and he was on SNL all the time when like basically him and fucking Eddie Murphy were running shit. And, obviously that led to movie roles outside of SNL, and he did films, notable films. Johnny Dangerously with my boy Keaton, Michael Keaton. He did Wise Guys with Danny DeVito, which is a fucking funny movie. Wise Guys. If you've never seen Wise Guys with Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo, really funny movie. My brother-in-law loves that fucking movie, and he turned me on to it a while ago. And it's actually directed crazily. It's directed by Brian De Palma. Okay, Brian De Palma, Scarface, Carlito's Way, Dress to Kill, fucking the first Mission Impossible. Just like the great filmmaker Brian De Palma that did a comedy that is fucking funny. And, he starred in the movie Sidekicks, which I just recently acquired on 4K. They had like a limited edition version, and I got it. It's a Chuck Norris movie that Joe Piscopo, I can't even, that's a whole nother podcast. I'm not going to talk about that. But my point is, Joe Piscopo, a funny fucking guy, right? Love the guy, and him and Treat Williams are in this film. Now, this film is fucking bizarre. So it's basically there's a lot of fun little things about this film too. First of all, it's a cop movie, a buddy cop movie with zombies, if I have to describe that, but not conventional, eat your brains zombies. Essentially, one of the cops, they're cops. There's a robbery in the beginning of the fucking movie. It's so funny because I was like, all right, I hadn't watched this movie in a while. I owned it on DVD, and then about a year ago they came out with a 4K of it, and so I got it because I was like, I have to get that. That movie's so fucking ridiculous. And I haven't watched it in years. Me and my brother used to watch it, and just it's one of those movies. It's an hour and fucking 20 minutes. And it's like, it goes by in a flash. And the best part is you understand nothing as far as plot details. And that's what I mean about spoiling this movie. There really isn't much I can spoil for you. But what I'm trying to say is I want to do a podcast about this movie. And I said, you know what, it's perfect. Treat Williams just died. This is an obscure movie from his past that we could talk about and kind of give him a little tribute with. And I was like, all right, I should probably watch the movie again because I haven't watched it in a while. And like, I just watched it. Literally, the menu is playing on my Blu-ray in front of me right now. And like, I didn't come away from this movie watching it again after all these years, like with any added storyline or details or knowledge about the movie. I mean, there's definitely a couple of scenes that I remember that I might talk about, but like, ridiculous. You instantly forget this movie after you watch it. And the plot is the plot is essentially like two cops, and then one of them dies, Treat Williams, in the beginning of the movie, and then like there's this doctor, whatever, this guy who's bringing people back to life. So then they bring Treat Williams back to life, and then he's essentially like this zombie cop, and like, but he's he's not hungry for brains or anything like that. He's just like rotting. He essentially could like take bullets and stuff like that. And I cannot stress enough, one of the most bizarre movies you'll ever see, and like, it's not a good movie. I mean, I want to get that off my chest right now. I want to get that out of the way. If you're expecting a good movie, if you're going to watch this movie, you're going to take my recommendation. It is not a fucking good movie. It's a terrible movie. But it is fun. It is good, terrible. It is fucking cheesy, terrible. One thing I will say, the special effects in this movie, this is from 1988, as I said, so this is like, it's got practical effects in it. Like, for the most part, they're pretty fucking good. There's some cool monster creatures and stuff like that, and it works. There's some gore in there and shit like that. The movie's also filled with Joe Piscopo. Two things from Joe Piscopo. Joe Piscopo one-liners, like one-liner after the other one-liner, just bad jokes. It's like, so if you're gonna, I will say this: if you're gonna watch this movie, definitely have a couple drinks when you watch it, or smoke some pot if you do that, and enjoy this fucking film, because the one drink every time Joe Piscopo says a bad one-liner, a bad joke that doesn't land. And I love Joe Piscopo, but there's just a lot of stuff that comes out of his mouth that some of it's funny, other stuff just is a complete miss. I was listening to an interview and he did improvise some of the stuff, so that's enjoyable as well. Also, the other thing Joe Piscopo does in this movie is he's fucking jacked. I don't know at what point. I got to do better research on this next time I talk about Joe Piscopo. But like Joe Piscopo, this is 88, but like Joe Piscopo went from obviously being on SNL, being just, a skinny guy, whatever, to like he was jacked at one point, like really working out, and he was on the cover like Muscle Fitness and stuff like that. And in this movie, he's fucking jacked and like drink every time he's like unintentionally or maybe intentionally posing and flexing because that's what goes on. He's all oiled up and he's wearing like shirts that are really tight in a lot of scenes, and he'll be in like the police station just leaning against something but like flexing unintentionally, kind of doing like the Top Gun, checking the watch and flexing. But yeah, this movie, oh man, just a lot of fun. As I said, the visual effects. You watch Treat Williams essentially like decompose as the movie goes on, and then at one point towards the end of the movie, he almost looks like a punk rock zombie version of Treat Williams. I think it would have been funny if he had like a desire to eat, people, like an actual zombie, but they don't really go that route. But the decomposing stuff's funny. There's some fucking creatures in this. There's one scene that like this fucking pig zombie comes back. I don't even know, like, that's what I mean about, like, not even know. I just watched the movie, and yet again, I must have seen this movie a handful of times, right? And I just freshly watched it, and I couldn't tell you what the fuck went on in this movie as far as, like, the plot, but it's all in good fun. The zombies, then there's, like, I don't even know I don't want to call them zombies, but, like, ghouls. And when they go after like Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams, they have guns too, and they're using guns. It's weird. It's weird, right? But yeah, let's talk about the cast. So Treat Williams, Joe Piscopo. Then you get fucking Darren McGavin, Billy Madison's father, as you'd know him, right? More of the younger audience. Younger, fucking me. That's I'm not young, 34 years old. But yeah, that's, for most common, for modern moviegoers, right? Then, of course, you know him as father in Christmas Story. He was Kolchak, the Night Stalker. And yeah, guy, fun. He's kind of like the villain. He pops up here and there. He's doing his thing. Also, Vincent fucking Price is in this movie. The legendary fucking Vincent Price. I don't know. I got to work on my Vincent Price impression. But you know him. He does fucking guys starring classic horror films, right? Also, did the voiceover in the Thriller song by Michael Jackson, right? This is coming to your neighborhoods. I'm going to work on my Vincent Price. I've really never attempted a Vincent Price. Maybe next week I'll come back with one. But yeah, Vincent Price in one of his final movies, right? This is 88. I believe his final movie. I'm gonna just say, as a legend, thank God it wasn't this, because the guy's a legend, and thank God it wasn't this. Although he's hamming it up, he's doing his thing, he's giving little speeches at the end of this movie, and it's good to see him, the elder Vincent Price. But his final movie, I believe, is Edward Scissorhands, which obviously he's the guy who created Edward Scissorhands, and he's yes, Hans, yes, Hans. That's the equivalent of my Vincent Price impression. It's basically him saying, yes, it's good. Things that he says in the flashbacks, those fucking weird flashbacks, and Edward Scissorhands. But yeah, he's enjoyable in here, so you get him. This movie's directed by Mark Goldblatt, which, if you look into Mark Goldblatt, he's got an interesting career because he's a director, obviously, but he only really directed a few movies. He directed this. He directed, I was looking earlier, he directed the Punisher film from the early 90s with Dolph Lundgren, which, to be honest, I've never even fucking seen. He's done some TV shows, I believe, as well, but mostly he's an editor, and it's he didn't really strike gold as a director. Listen, not everybody's a great director and all that, but like he's edited some fucking. He's done some second unit direct. As I'm looking at it, he's done some, but his filmography, as far as like editing, I mean, just to name a few, fucking Commando, that Arnold Schwarzenegger Commando, RoboCop, second unit director. I could be fucking some of these up, but Terminator 2, he was an editor, like Terminator fucking 2, Universal Soldier, editorial consultant. The Last Boy Scout, that was directed by Tony Scott. Just like True Lies, so he works with James Cameron a couple times. Then he did fucking Showgirls, which that movie, ridiculous. But like additional editor on The Rock, the Michael Bay film, like he fucking guy's a talented, editor. And he never, like as I said, he never really struck gold with the directing. But listen, this movie is still fun. I see some Bad Boy stuff in there too. So and then this movie, the more interesting thing about this movie now. So this is from '88, right? And the funny thing about it, right? Because when you watch it, it's essentially, like trying to be like a Lethal Weapon-esque movie, right? It's like Lethal Weapon. It's like that buddy cop aspect of it is essentially trying to be a Lethal Weapon-esque movie. And the fucking funniest thing about it is this movie is written by the brother. So Shane Black is the guy who wrote Lethal Weapon, right? 1987. This is written by the brother of Shane Black. It's like perfect. And like, his name is Terry Black. I'll say his name. And he's gone on to do, some Tales from the Crypts and stuff like that. He's a working writer. He's done some stuff. But, like, it's just funny because, like, how did this transpire? As far as, like, did he get the idea after he saw his brother's movie or read his brother's script? And he say, well, this is I want to put a horror spin on it. And he makes this ridiculous movie, which, as I said, not really a cohesive plot. There's a lot of things that happen. It seems, so the movie's an hour and 20 minutes, and as I said, it goes by in a flash, but it seems like there's a lot of stuff cut out of it. I got to check like the bonus features, because now in this newer edition, there's actually bonus features with maybe deleted scenes and shit like that. So I want to check. I know there's an audio commentary. But it seems like this movie's heavily cut. Whereas you're watching it, and then, like, this crazy action happens, and then, you're watching it, and then a certain character, I'm just gonna fucking say it, alright? A certain character. At one point, there's a scene, and this is, like, the ridiculousness in this movie, where, like, Joe Piscopo separates from Treat Williams. He's like, oh, all right, I gotta go, do this or whatever. I'll see you later. And then, like, the next time you see Joe Piscopo, out of nowhere, he's just upside down, dead in a fish tank. Like, his face, somebody tied his feet to like the ceiling and his head is just in, like, that right there is exactly what you're getting with this movie. You're getting, as I said, a lot of bad one-liners, muscled up Joe Piscopo, people coming back to life, ghouls with guns. I mean, that could have been the title in the movie. Dead Heat. I mean, there's even a fucking, because it was the 80s, so, like, they had a fucking theme song for every movie, like, written specifically in the movie. There's even a fucking song called Dead Heat that is in, like, the end credits. I think it was in the titles, too, but, like, ridiculous. I don't know. This movie is one of those fucking films that just went under the radar, is forgotten. It's so funny because it came out in 88, and, like, when did... I don't know, I was looking before, it was, like, a few months after something like Beetlejuice came out, and, like, I wonder if they thought maybe they would have, not that, you know, it was taken away from that or anything like that, the movie was obviously in production, but, like, I wonder if they thought they would have a bigger hit on their hands because of something with similar subject matter, a fucking horror kind of comedy cross. But I don't even know. It's horror, it's comedy, it's action. It's got, honestly, it's got everything, but it doesn't really, it doesn't really hit all the marks, as you'll see when you watch it. But I think it's worth a watch. I think it's worth a watch, especially in honor of Treat Williams and one of his more obscure films. I actually follow Joe Piscopo on Instagram, and he had shared, after Treat Williams passed away, he shared a picture of them, you know, from this movie. So that was nice, and I don't know if they kept up as friends and stuff like that. But listen, there's not every movie's good, right? Not every movie's good. It's so fucking bizarre. I don't even know what else to say about this movie. Just check it out. This is a quick little episode, just to, you know, get me to 60 tomorrow. So I figured, why not, right? Why not talk about a stupid fucking movie as I watch the menu and they show clips? It's just such a confusing movie. The effects are good. And it's kind of like, I know they did what they do. That movie fucking Rip PD with Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds, right? And that was another fucking flop. I think that was based on a comic, but it's kind of similar subject matter, I guess, to that. But I don't know. They were going after, like, ghouls and shit, right? I mean, this even the ending of this movie is so abrupt and weird. And how many just drink every time somebody gets brought back to life too. It's a movie with no consequences. Honestly though, like, I wonder why. Probably because nobody, you know, because it didn't really make money. It didn't have good critical reception. But I'm surprised they didn't. This isn't an IP, or rather, scratch the IP. But this isn't something that a studio didn't try to remake, because it's got, like, potential. Like, somewhere in here, and maybe with the script, the original script, which I never read, maybe there was something better. Like, it could have been a better movie. You know, but it is a fun little B fucking throwaway movie. Joe Piscopo, as I said, one of the unsung heroes of SNL and comedians, and just a funny guy, especially at this time. Peak Joe Piscopo, he's jacked out of his mind. He's funny in it. And then Treat Williams playing more of the straight man. I'll tell you how ridiculous this movie is. Just to sum it up in one line. Treat Williams' name in this film is Roger Mortis. Like rigor mortis. Like the blood settling when you're dead. His name is Roger Mortis. Like Officer Roger Mortis. It's not like they don't call him Roger Mortis as a nickname. And there's a lot of bad, like, dialogue, too. Like, another drinking moment. Drink every time, like, Joe Piscopo goes into, like, a serious speech that makes absolutely no sense. There's, in the beginning of this movie, there's a whole joke, because they're speeding in a car. And I think Joe Piscopo says something along the lines of, like, oh, you can't be a good cop or you're a dead cop or something like that. And then later, like, after this happens, this whole thing where he dies and he comes back and he's like zombified or whatever the fuck. He's like, well, remember I used to say that? And he's like, you can't be a good cop unless you're a bad cop. Like, because I think Treat Williams is all down because he's fucking decomposing. And he's like, well, now's your chance to prove him wrong. Like, what? What does that even mean? How is that even going to help the guy? The guy's still decomposing. He's a zombie. What the fuck does that even mean? But there's a lot of what the fuck moments in this film. But that's it, guys and gals. That's Dead Heat. Rest in peace, Treat Williams. Check out the movie. I hope that, if anything, because I doubt, I think 9 out of 10 people have never even fucking heard of this movie, let alone seen it, but I think it's worth a watch. As I said, some drinks, some booze, maybe some marijuana, and play a little game. So I hope it gets somebody at least to watch it, if you haven't watched it. And that's the podcast for today. As I said, check out the other podcasts, the Batman episode and stuff like that. Flash is tomorrow, so I'm going to fucking record that episode as soon as I see it. And hopefully it delivers on all fronts. I'll be light with spoilers and all that shit. But yeah, check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Dom Solo Reels, where I publish my fucking stuff on there and whatever the hell. And yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good night.